football has seen its fair share of controversy.
If I speak, I am in big trouble.
But some scandals were so big that entire teams paid the price. From match fixing and bribery to shocking acts of deception and even fan violence. The upcoming clubs and national teams were banned from major tournaments, sometimes even for years. Today we're diving into the most infamous cases where football teams got themselves kicked out, and the shocking reasons behind their bans. Starting with the Italian giant Juventus, who was at the center of the Calciopoli in 2006, a scandal that shook Italian football to its core. Investigations revealed that key figures, including general manager Luciano Maggi and CEO Antonio Garotto, had influenced referee appointments to secure favorable officiating. The consequences were severe. The old lady was relegated to the Serie B, stripped of its 2004-05 and 2005-06 Serie A titles, and banned from European competitions. Originally set to compete in the 2006-07 UEFA Champions League, Juventus' exclusion allowed AS Roma to take their place. Meanwhile, Inter Milan, finishing second in the 2005-06 Serie A season, was awarded the revoked title. The scandal led to an exodus of top players. Zlatan Ibrahimovic and Patrick Vieira joined Inter. Fabio Cannavaro and Emerson left for Real Madrid, and Lilian Thuram and Gianluca Zambrotta moved to Barcelona. However, club legends Alessandro Del Piero, Gianluigi Buffon, Pavel Nedved, Mauro Camoranesi, and David Trezeguet stayed, determined to restore Juventus' honor. Despite the chaos, Juventus rebounded quickly, winning the Serie B and securing an immediate return to the top flight. However, coach Didier Deschamps resigned before the season ended due to disagreements with the club's board. While Juventus eventually reclaimed their dominance under Antonio Conte in the early 2010s, the scars of the Calciopoli scandal remain. Many fans of the old lady still argue that the club was unfairly punished, compared to others involved in the scandal, who escaped relegation. But Juventus' downfall wasn't the first time that corruption shook European football. More than a decade earlier, Marseille faced a similar fate, this time involving outright bribery. In 1993, Olympique Marseille was on the verge of glory. They had secured a place in the UEFA Champions League final and were closing in on another French Division I title. But a bribery scandal would soon tarnish their success and lead to their ban from European football. On May 20th, just 6 days before the final, Marseille faced Valenciennes in a crucial league match. Determined to avoid injuries, club president Bernard Tapie and general manager Jean-Pierre Bernès orchestrated a scheme. Marseille midfielder Jean-Jacques Italy offered bribes to Valenciennes players Christophe Robert, Jorge Burruchaga, and Jacques Glassman to underperform. Glassman refused and reported it, leading to an investigation. Police later found 250,000 francs buried in the garden of Robert's aunt, clear evidence of corruption. The punishment was severe. UEFA banned Marseille from the 1993-94 Champions League, Super Cup, and Intercontinental Cup. The French Football Federation stripped them of their league title, and Tapie was convicted, and even had to serve jail time. In 1994, financial troubles led to their relegation to the second French division. The Les Olympians returned to the top flight in 1996, but the scandal remains one of football's darkest moments. Though their 1993 Champions League victory still stands, their fall serves as a harsh lesson on the price of corruption. While the French team scandal cost them their place in Europe, on the international stage, a goalkeeper's shocking act of deception led to Chile's ban from the World Cup. On September 3, 1989, at the Maracanazo Stadium in Rio de Janeiro, Chile faced Brazil in a crucial World Cup qualifier. Trailing 1-0 in the second half, Chile needed a victory to stay in contention. However, what followed became one of football's greatest scandals, leading to a World Cup ban for the Chilean national team. With 20 minutes left, Chilean goalkeeper Roberto Rojas suddenly collapsed, bleeding, as a flare thrown from the stands landed nearby. His teammates refused to continue, claiming he was injured and walking off in protest. The goal was clear: to force FIFA to annul the result or penalize Brazil. However, photographs and television footage later revealed the truth. The flare had landed near Rojas but had not even touched him. Investigations proved that he had cut himself with a hidden razor blade in a premeditated act, orchestrated with team officials. Under mounting evidence, Rojas later confessed to the deception. FIFA responded with severe punishments. The Chilean imposter received a lifetime ban, though it was lifted in 2001. Chile was handed a 2-0 defeat and, more significantly, banned from the 1994 World Cup qualifiers for abandoning the match. The scandal set Chilean football back for years, and they did not return to the World Cup until 1998, led by Marcelo Salas and Iván Zamorano. The Maracanazo of 1989 remains a stark reminder that cheating can have devastating consequences, not just for individuals, but for an entire nation's footballing future. Chile's attempt to manipulate FIFA backfired, but just a year before, Mexico suffered an even greater embarrassment, one that cost them an entire World Cup cycle. The 1990 FIFA World Cup was missing a major team, Mexico. Not because they failed to qualify, but because they were banned by FIFA, a scandal that remains one of the darkest moments in Mexican football history. It all started in 1988, when Mexico's U20 team qualified for the 1989 FIFA World Youth Championship. But journalists José Ramón Fernández and Antonio Moreno uncovered that several players had falsified their ages, with some as much as 7 years older than allowed. At first, the Mexican Football Federation downplayed the accusations, hoping only the youth team would be punished. But FIFA took a harsh stance, imposing a 2-year ban on all national teams, meaning Mexico was barred from the 1990 World Cup. The fallout was devastating. Mexico had just hosted the 1986 World Cup, reaching the quarterfinals, and even had a really promising squad for the upcoming tournament. The ban cost an entire generation their World Cup dreams and severely damaged Mexico's reputation. While Mexico returned for the 1994 World Cup, the stigma of 1990 remains a painful lesson, proving that in football, cheating always has consequences. Mexico's scandal revolved around age fraud, but in Turkey, corruption took another form, match fixing, that rocked two of the nation's biggest clubs. In 2011, Turkish football was affected by a match-fixing scandal, also called Şike in Turkey, implicating Fenerbahçe and Beşiktaş. What followed was a saga of investigations, bans, legal battles, and eventual acquittals, leaving unanswered questions about the sport's integrity. The scandal centered on allegations that Fenerbahçe manipulated matches during their 2010-11 Super League title run, including a 4-3 win over Sivasspor. UEFA banned them from the following Champions League and later suspended them for 2 more European seasons. Beşiktaş, accused of fixing the 2011 Turkish Cup final, returned the trophy and was barred from the 2013-14 Europa League. In 2012, Fenerbahçe's president Aziz Yildirim was sentenced to over 6 years in prison, alongside several club officials. But 3 years later, his conviction was overturned, and by 2020, a Turkish court fully acquitted all suspects. Critics argue that the case wasn't just about match fixing but also about politics, an attempt to remove certain figures from power under the disguise of fighting corruption. While UEFA's bans damaged both clubs, the acquittals raised new doubts. Was justice truly served, or was match fixing covered up? One thing is certain, the line between competition and corruption is often razor thin. Unlike Turkey's deliberate wrongdoing, Real's Copa del Rey expulsion was the result of an astonishing administrative blunder. The Los Blancos suffered a humiliating exit from the 2015-16 Copa del Rey after fielding an ineligible player, Denis Cheryshev, in their round of 32 match against Cadiz. Despite Madrid winning 3-1, the victory was meaningless once it was revealed that Cheryshev was supposed to be serving a suspension from the previous season, while he was on loan at Villarreal. Ironically, Cheryshev opened the scoring, but chaos erupted when Cadiz fans began chanting his name, aware of the mistake Madrid had made. The club realized the error and subbed him off in the 46th minute, but it was too late. The damage was done. Cadiz immediately lodged a formal complaint, and the Spanish Football Federation responded by expelling the Los Blancos from the competition. Real Madrid tried to appeal, arguing that Cheryshev had never been personally notified of his suspension, as required by RFEF rules. Club president Florentino Perez insisted the team had checked all player statuses, but their appeal was rejected. The blunder added to the pressure on manager Rafa Benitez, who was already facing criticism following a humiliating 4-0 defeat to Barcelona in the El Clasico. Just a month later, he was sacked and replaced by Zinedine Zidane. Ironically, Zidane would go on to lead Madrid to Champions League glory that season, turning their disastrous start into one of their most successful campaigns. Madrid's administrative slip-up remains one of the biggest embarrassments in the club's history, proving that even football's most powerful teams aren't immune to costly mistakes. Their mistake was embarrassing, but probably unintentional. Dynamo Kyiv, however, was caught in an outright bribery scandal that led to a UEFA ban. In 1995, Dynamo Kyiv was expelled from the UEFA Champions League after being caught in a bribery scandal that shook European football. Spanish referee Antonio Lopez Nieto accused club officials of attempting to bribe him with $30,000 and 2 luxury fur coats before their opening match against Panathinaikos. He also claimed he was invited to a sauna, where further hospitality was implied. UEFA responded swiftly, expelling Dynamo from the tournament and banning them from all European competitions for 3 years. Vice President Vasi Babichuk and board member Ihor Sirkis were handed lifetime bans from UEFA-related activities. Dynamo denied wrongdoing, arguing that Lopez Nieto had personally requested the fur coats but later refused to pay for them, twisting the situation into a bribery claim. The scandal sent shockwaves through Ukraine, prompting intervention from President Leonid Kuchma, who feared the punishment would hurt the nation's football development. His lobbying efforts helped to reduce the ban to 1 season, allowing Dynamo to return to European competition in 1996-97. Despite the scandal, the Ukrainian club rebounded spectacularly, reaching the 1999 Champions League semi-finals under legendary coach Valery Lobanovsky, with Andriy Shevchenko and Serhiy Rebrov leading the charge. However, the bribery case left a stain on the club's reputation, serving as a reminder that off-field scandals can derail even the most promising teams. Bribing referees is one thing, fixing entire matches is another. In 2011, a Greek football scandal implicated an entire network of officials and clubs. The Koriopolis, a massive match-fixing scandal that exposed deep corruption in the sport. Named after Italy's Calciopoli, the investigation uncovered illegal gambling, bribery, and referee manipulation, implicating 187 individuals, including club officials, referees, and police officers. One of the biggest casualties was Olympiakos Volos, a club on the rise with European ambitions. The scandal erupted after UEFA flagged 40 suspicious matches from the 2009-10 season, from which several of these matches involved Olympiakos Volos. Greek authorities launched an investigation, uncovering wiretap evidence of match-fixing deals between club owners and referees. Olympiakos Volos president Achilles Vios was at the center of the controversy and was eventually banned for life from football. Initially, Olympiakos Volos was hit with relegation, but after appealing, they were allowed to remain in Greece's top division with a 10-point deduction. However, UEFA stepped in, ruling them unfit for European competition. Just days before their Europa League playoff against PSG, the Greek team was expelled from the tournament. The situation worsened in August 2011, when the club failed to obtain a license to compete in Greece's professional football leagues, leading to their forced relegation to the 4th division. A team that had been competing for European success had collapsed overnight. While the Greek club eventually climbed back into professional football, the scandal left a lasting stain on their reputation and served as a harsh lesson on the cost of corruption. Match fixing damages football's integrity, but fan violence can be just as devastating. Feyenoord learned this the hard way, after riots led to a UEFA ban. The 2006-07 UEFA Cup was supposed to be an exciting journey for Feyenoord, but instead, it turned into a nightmare. A violent incident involving the club supporters led to one of the harshest punishments in UEFA history: outright expulsion from the competition. It all unraveled on November 30, 2006, during a group stage match against AS Nancy in France. As Feyenoord trailed 3-0, chaos erupted in the stands. Supporters clashed with police, ripped out seats, and hurled objects onto the pitch, forcing a lengthy delay. UEFA initially fined the club €125,000, but under mounting pressure, their appeals body reviewed the case and took drastic action. Feyenoord was expelled from the competition entirely. Their round of 32 opponents, Tottenham Hotspur, were awarded a win into the next round, leaving the Dutch club with no chance to redeem themselves. The punishment was devastating. Financial director Onno Jacobs called it a huge slap in the face, citing millions in lost revenue from ticket sales, TV rights, and prize money. But perhaps the biggest blow was to the loyal fans, who suffered because of a reckless few. The Dutch club's UEFA expulsion remains a cautionary tale in European football, showing that when fan violence crosses the line, an entire club pays the price. Feyenoord wasn't the first club to suffer for their fans' actions. More than 3 decades earlier, Leeds United faced a similar fate after riots in a controversial European final. The 1975 European Cup final should have been Leeds United's crowning moment, but instead, it became one of football's most controversial nights. Facing Bayern Munich in Paris, Leeds dominated much of the match but were undone by referee Michel Catabgio. He denied them 2 clear penalties and controversially disallowed a Peter Lorimer goal. Even Beckenbauer later admitted that Leeds should have had at least 1 penalty. Bayern took advantage, scoring twice late in the game, and frustration boiled over. Leeds fans, outraged by the perceived injustice, rioted, throwing missiles, clashing with riot police, and causing damage across Paris. UEFA responded harshly, banning the Whites from European competition for 4 years, which was later reduced to 2. The scandal reinforced negative stereotypes about English fans, foreshadowing the hooliganism crisis that would later lead to the 1985 European ban on English clubs. Even Bayern players admitted that Leeds had been the better team, with Uli Hoeneß calling the result a travesty. The night left a painful legacy, not just for the injustice suffered, but for how it shaped Leeds' European future. Whether it was corruption, administrative blunders, or the actions of their own supporters, these teams learned the hard way that football's biggest rule is simple: cheat, and you'll pay the price. But what do you think? Were some of these bans too harsh, or were they deserved? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more football stories. Out of Play says goodbye.